Hi, my name is Gerry, and I am a twin troller boat owner.
This part 1 video will be mostly with content from Steve, a twin troller boat owner from Melbourne, Florida. Steve fishes a lot from a body of water over there called the Stick Marsh, Farm 13. I personally fished there years ago when this was relatively new and had standing timber in it. Steve talks about the Stick Marsh and its history, and this body of water has a tremendous amount of fish in it, and very large fish, as you will see in part 2. I want to give a special thanks to Chaz, Steve's friend, who helps him with his photos and video and editing. Nice job. Steve from Melbourne writes, "These nitrogen-rich nutrients from man-made fertilizers are bad for the water quality in the St. Johns River. These reservoirs act like giant filters. The only two ways that this nutrient-rich water can enter the Stick Marsh and Farm 13 are by way of a main spillway that is surrounded by a few large culverts with valves. This entrance spillway and culverts are located at the southeast end of Farm 13. The water comes from the Miami Garcia impoundment via a large canal, surrounded by a canal and levee system that holds the water in place. The entire impoundment or reservoir was completed in 1989. It, along with nearby Miami Garcia Reservoir, directly to the southeast, make up the St. Johns River Restoration Project. The surrounding farms and groves also use these as a method of watering their fields when needed, but their main purpose is to capture all the water runoff from these surrounding groves and giant gardens that are full of rich nutrients." Hello everyone, thank you for watching my video series, and I hope you enjoy them. I want to give you an overall description of the Stick Marsh and Farm 13 with general information and tips for you who may plan on visiting and fishing here someday. The Stick Marsh and Farm 13 are simply two main lake pools, separated almost completely by a levee. Farm 13 is the southern pool and is about 50% bigger than the Stick Marsh pool that is on the north side of the levee. Both main pools together are approximately 6,500 acres and about 6.5 miles long by roughly 2 miles wide. This entire man-made impoundment is shaped like a giant rectangle. They open the spillway and culverts when necessary to introduce the water. Once the water has been allowed to settle and filter, there is another spillway at the northwest end of the canal just north of the Stick Marsh. This spillway is open to allow the now cleaner water to enter the upper St. Johns River basin, which is the headwaters of this northern flowing river. That can be seen on Google Earth and other maps of the entire complex. This plan is working very well. The water quality and wildlife, including fishing in the St. Johns River, is making a great comeback. At the time of planning and construction, it was the largest and most expensive project ever undertaken by the Army Corps of Engineers. It was so successful it inspired a similar and even bigger project to restore the Kissimmee River, which is also working. Stocking the Stick Marsh with bass was an afterthought about midway through the project. There were major concerns over periodic fish kills, but to date, none have occurred. Next to the parking lot and ramps at the northeast corner of the Stick Marsh is one more spillway that is used only to release storm water from major hurricanes. The entire levee system could burst from such extreme high water levels. These nutrient-rich waters, coupled with all the flooded trees and vegetation, produced the fastest growing rate for largemouth bass ever recorded in history, averaging 2.5 pounds per year. This has been thoroughly documented by tagged fish and biologists using electroshocking surveys. Ongoing surveys prove not only sheer numbers of quality fish, but also huge bass over 10 pounds, including occasional catches from anglers of bass weighing over 15 and even 17 pounds. A handful of bass weighing 18, 19, and even 20 pounds have been verified but not certified due to the strict rule of catching immediate release. You can't even keep a bass in your live well. All other species such as crappie, bluegill, and other sunfish and catfish may be kept. We also have world-class crappie fishing here that often weigh 2 pounds or more. All black bass must be released at once after weighing, measuring, and photographing, of course, remain to this day. To date, I have caught 13 bass that weighed 10 pounds and 4 that weighed 12 pounds. If you plan a trip here, I strongly advise you to avoid the months beginning in July all the way through October. Hotter months prove to be some really tough fishing with even tougher results. From late November, the trophy bass fishing starts to dramatically increase, peaks in December, and runs all the way through April. Those months are the prime months for monster bass on artificial lures as well as large wild golden shiners. Wild shiners usually outproduce all other lures by a tremendous ratio, but that doesn't mean large bass can't be caught using lures. Lures of nearly all types can produce very well here. May and June are still good months to fish, but the action begins to slow down somewhat. I prefer fishing artificial lures only from June all the way through early November. From late November, I will use 2 heavy rods to fish the large shiners from both sides of the boat, and while doing that, I toss artificial lures as I wait for the shiner bite, which usually happens quite quickly in the prime months. Monster bass fishing can be so phenomenal, most people can't believe it until they fish it themselves. A 3-day trip is your best bet at a large trophy bass. Mild winters produce much better results than harsher winters with repeated fronts and high winds. The Stick Marsh in Farm 13 can be a tough place if winds produce dirty water. There are no natural shoreline barriers to block the wind, so keep a close eye on upcoming cold fronts when planning a trip here. For the past decade, the best trophy bass fishing is found in the entire southern end of Farm 13. This is where the majority of submerged stump fields plus huge beds of eelgrass intertwine with hydrilla. These stump fields and grass lines attract huge amounts of bait fish and other prey items. Big bass like to hang around closer to the grocery store, if you know what I mean. Other hotspots include the entire west bank of both main pools, as well as the entire northwestern quadrant of the Stick Marsh pool, especially beginning in January. This same area in the Stick Marsh begins to pick up even better going into February, when water is being pumped in via the southeast spillway and culverts in Farm 13. There is a large cove area that leads to that spillway. The entire cove should never be overlooked in the prime months. Good bass fishing can be found in all areas of the entire complex, but the areas I just mentioned should be your main interest. Please navigate this entire complex with caution. The hurricanes have downed every tree that once stood up out of the water, and all of those downed trees are still there, including the stumps that still stand, often just beneath the surface. So go slow and always ask locals for further advice for current navigational hazards. Alligators, catfish, and turtles will burrow around the root system of these stumps. Add in wind and current, and these stumps sometimes come completely loose from the bottom and drift around the entire complex just beneath the surface. The wind and current can push them anywhere, making a navigational hazard. You may consult with Stick Marsh Bait and Tackle ahead of time for recent and current fishing conditions, as well as the going prices for live wild shiners by the dozen. A single angler should buy at least 2 dozen, if not 4 dozen, during the prime months. 2 anglers should buy at least 4 to 6 dozen per day of fishing. Try to plan your trip between mild periods between any cold fronts. Remember, you want to stack the deck in your favor as much as possible. There are no stores, gas, or restaurants nearby, so pack everything you need to wear, to use, eat, sunscreen, hats, and bring plenty of drink. Plenty of hotels are located north and south within 10 miles of the dirt road leading to the ramps and parking. There is only one way in or out of the complex. Drive carefully on the 6-mile dirt road leading in. The dirt road is often graded. There is a paved parking lot along with overflow parking in a nearby field and 2 boat ramps at the northeast end of the Stick Marsh pool. Farm 13 is easily accessed from the Stick Marsh via boat only though. Good luck and tight lines. Steve.
If you like my video, feel free to subscribe. Just push that button in the corner, or give me a thumbs up, or share it with your friends, or right below, just write comments or questions. Thanks for watching.